Hey guys, tonight we're setting out on a journey through mountains, valleys, and cliffside paths. But don't worry, you won't have to lace up your hiking sandals. We're diving into the story of the Inca Empire's postal system. Yes, really. Because before you drift off, why not imagine life as an elite Inca runner, sprinting along narrow Andean trails, dodging llamas, and delivering royal messages? Spoiler alert. You probably wouldn't survive the first hill, but at least you'll get a great nap. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're feeling friendly, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where and when you're listening from down. Dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing at the edge of an Inca road, a long winding stretch of stone path that hugs the cliffs above a green valley. It's early morning, and there's a chilly mist rising from the mountains. You adjust the strap on your woven tunic and glance down at your feet. Sandals, leather soles, tied with alpaca cord. Great for grip, not so great for comfort. But you don't complain, because you're a Chasquis relay messenger, and today you're part of one of the most advanced communication systems the ancient world ever saw. The Inca Empire, or Tawantinsuyu, spanned about 2,500 miles from modern-day Colombia down to Chile. That's like jogging from New York to Miami, but at high altitude and without the luxury of protein bars. The empire stretched across mountains, deserts, and rainforests. And yet, messages could travel from the capital of Cusco to the farthest reaches of the empire in just a few days. How? Because of people like you, high-speed human couriers stationed along the Capac One, the royal road network. You trudge over stones carefully fitted together without mortar. No potholes here. The Incas were serious about infrastructure. Their road system was about 25,000 miles long, with rope bridges, tunnels, and staircases carved into cliff sides. And unlike modern highways, this one came with free llama crossings and the occasional guinea pig darting into your path at regular intervals along the trail. You spot little huts called tambos. These are your rest stations, places to eat, nap, or trade off the message to the next runner. Each tambo is stocked with water, dried maize, and charqui, which is basically early jerky made from freeze-dried meat. Think of it as the original protein snack, minus the convenience of a plastic wrapper. Your job is simple, but exhausting. You sprint from one tambo to the next, hand off your message, and the next Chasquis picks it up without missing a beat. It's like a human relay race that never stops, 24 hours a day. Some historians estimate that messages could travel up to 150 miles per day, this way faster than a horse courier, and without worrying about saddle sores. And what are you carrying? Not a scroll or parchment. Those aren't really part of the Inca toolkit. Instead, you've memorized an oral message, or maybe you're carrying a small token, like a knotted cord or a carved stick. It's all stored in your putatu, a conch shell trumpet slung over your shoulder. You use it to signal the next Chasquis that you're coming. Imagine blowing into a giant seashell while running uphill at 10,000 feet. Great for lung strength. Not so great if you're shy. The emperor, the Sapa Inca, depends on you. His empire is too big for him to see everything himself, so you're his eyes, ears, and legs. You carry news of battles, harvests, births, and perhaps most importantly, tax collection. Because nothing says ancient empire like the urgent delivery of spreadsheets, or, in this case, oral reports on corn quotas along the way. You pass by farmers tending terraces carved into the mountainsides. They nod as you run by, probably grateful they don't have your job. At least they get to stand still while their quinoa grows. Now, here's where things get quirky. Some Chasquis stations came with runners trained specifically to memorize huge amounts of data. These were the quipu kamak or not readers, but more on that later. For now, you're focused on making it to the next tambo without tripping over a rock. which, by the way, is harder than it sounds when you're sprinting at altitude. And if you're wondering whether everyone loved this system, well, historians still argue whether the Chasquis network was voluntary service or forced labor. Some say it was an honor. Others think it was just another way the Inca elite kept tabs on the provinces. Either way, your calves are getting stronger by the minute. You barely slow down as you approach the next tambo. The other runner is already there, waiting, legs flexed like a coiled spring. You pass the message, sometimes just a few carefully chosen words, sometimes a carved token that represents the whole report hand, then you're done. At least for this leg of the journey. Now you get a moment to catch your breath, nibble on some dried potatoes, and maybe rub your aching feet. In the cool shadow of the tambo's stone walls, you wonder how on earth this entire system stays organized. The answer, of course, is knots. The Inca postal system didn't just rely on runners. It also used something called the quipu, a series of colored cords with knots tied in specific patterns. These weren't just decoration or handy shoelaces. The quipu was a recording device, a kind of portable data storage system made of string. Each color, knot, and thread placement represented numbers or categories of information. Need to report how much corn was harvested. That's a yellow string with a certain knot pattern. Want to log how many llamas you've counted this season? There's a string for that too. Some quipus even recorded census data. So, in a way, the Chasquis weren't just postal workers. They were data couriers, carrying analog spreadsheets dangling from their belts. And here's where things get interesting. Historians still argue whether the quipu was purely numerical, or if it also included phonetic elements, basically a form of writing. Some scholars believe the knots represented syllables or words, while others think they were strictly for accounting. Either way, it's safe to say the Incas had a method of recording information that's both sophisticated and, frankly, a nightmare for modern archaeologists trying to decode it. Imagine inheriting your grandmother's recipe book, but instead of measurements and ingredients, it's just a pile of strings with mysterious knots. That's basically what happened to modern researchers who've uncovered quipus without the accompanying oral traditions to explain them. Back on the trail, you recall that the Inca messengers sometimes carried ceremonial items too. If the Sapa, Inca wanted to send a blessing to a provincial governor, he might dispatch a sacred quipu tied with special knots and colors, believed to carry spiritual significance. Think of it as the ancient version of sending someone a text message with an emoji, but the emoji also protects your crops from frost as you rest. You watch a caravan of llamas trundle by, their little feet expertly navigating the mountain paths. Unlike horses or oxen, llamas are perfectly designed for this terrain. They're basically the SUVs of the Andes Scampact, sturdy and prone to spitting if you get too close. The Chasquis network often relied on llamas to carry goods alongside the messages, postal service, and package delivery, all in one. Some parts of the Inca road system were so high up that snow and ice made travel nearly impossible. But the Chasquis adapted, running barefoot in warmer valleys and donning woolen cloaks and extra sandals in the freezing altitudes. If you were a Chasquis, you had to know the terrain like the back of your hand, or risk literally falling off the side of a cliff. No pressure. The efficiency of this system was so impressive that Spanish conquistadors later tried to use it themselves after they toppled the empire. They kept the roads and tambos, but added their own twist horses and wagons, which promptly got stuck in the mountains. Turns out, sometimes the simplest technology is the smartest. Llamas and human legs could go where wheels just couldn't. And remember those tambos. Some of them doubled as way stations for imperial officials, soldiers, or traveling dignitaries. It's kind of like staying at a roadside motel, except instead of free continental breakfast, you got dried maize and the occasional alpaca stew. Interestingly, some scholars believe there were secret paths known only to the royal runners. These hidden trails may have allowed the most sensitive messages to bypass public roads entirely. Think of it as the Inca version of encrypted messaging apps, but with more cliffs and fewer passwords. As the sun begins to set, you lace up your sandals again, preparing for another leg of the journey. The air is cooler now, and the sky over the Andes turns a soft shade of lavender. You hear the distant sound of another putat, too, echoing from the next Chasquis, just like you, ready to keep the message moving. The system is seamless, a relay of human memory and endurance, stretching from mountaintop to mountaintop. And while the empire itself has long since faded, the remnants of those roads and tambos are still there, winding silently through the mountains. Some of them are even used today by hikers and villagers. It's a testament to the Incas' engineering and maybe to their stubborn refusal to believe in flat surfaces. In the end, the Inca postal system wasn't just about speed, it was about connection, a way to weave together distant provinces with invisible strings of communication, much like the knots on a quipu. Messages crisscross the empire, tying people together through shared information, tradition, and the occasional llama delivery. Now, as you imagine yourself resting in that quiet tambo, far from the noise of modern life, let your thoughts soften. Picture the soft whisper of wind moving through Andean grass, the rhythmic sound of your own breath slowing down. Your legs are no longer tired, your mind no longer busy. You watch the last rays of sunlight disappear behind the mountain peaks. The llamas settle down, the Chasquis runners rest their feet, and the ancient roads lie still under the stars' silent ribbons of history weaving through the landscape. You are safe there, wrapped in woolen blankets, your body relaxing deeper into the earth beneath you. Let the memory of those stone paths and knotted cords fade into a gentle blur. The empire sleeps now, its messengers quiet, its mountains softly humming with nighttime calm. You can drift, weightless, letting the day slip away like mist over distant valleys.